The movie begins in Germany with a professional assassin named Jackal, who infiltrates a large company disguised as an old man named Ralph. Jackal has a mission to accomplish within the company, and he uses this disguise to carry it out. He enters an office under the pretense of cleaning, but is actually setting up the equipment for his mission. Suddenly, an employee walks in, and Jackal shoots him. The sound of gunfire draws the security officer outside, who also enters the scene, only to be shot by Jackal as well. Jackal continues eliminating everyone around him until he finally reaches his target, a young man named Elias, who owns the company and is revealed to be the son of German candidate Manfred. Jackal shoots Elias in the leg while standing on the stairs. Despite having the chance to finish him off, he leaves him with just the injury. Jackal then returns to his residence, removes his mask, and reveals his true appearance, a handsome young man with cunning and intelligence etched on his face. Jackal is a calm person who speaks very little and spends his time reviewing messages about new tasks assigned to him. The next day, the German candidate Manfred visits the hospital where his son Elias is admitted. Manfred is shown to be widely disliked, with no support from the German public, who hold demonstrations against him everywhere. The protests are so intense that his driver struggles to pass through the crowds. Meanwhile, Jackal is seen standing in a high building across from the hospital, preparing his sniper rifle to carry out his next mission, assassinating the politician Manfred. As soon as Manfred takes his first step into the hospital, Jackal fires a precise shot into his head from over a kilometer away, killing him instantly. Afterward, Jackal collects his things and leaves the scene, leaving behind a bomb that explodes on the police officers searching for him. It is revealed that Elias's injury was merely bait to lure Manfred to the hospital so Jackal could assassinate him. The following day, Jackal travels to France as a businessman. At the border between France and Germany, he is inspected by security, who find nothing suspicious except a rare chess set. When asked about it, Jackal says he likes to keep rare items like that. The officer lets him pass after thoroughly checking his papers. Meanwhile, a commissioner from Germany meets with the London police to seek their cooperation in solving Manfred's assassination. They regard it as a highly complex case since the killer left no evidence behind. The bullet was fired from a distance that exceeded any record for sniper shots, indicating they are dealing with a highly skilled assassin. Among those present at the meeting is Detective Pienka, who starts piecing together the events. She deduces that the sniper rifle used was custom-made, possibly even built in two separate parts to allow the assassin to transport it discreetly. She recalls an Irish gunsmith named Stock, who had been trying to create a rifle with such specifications for years. Pienka decides to track him down, hoping he could be the lead they need to find the killer. After the meeting, Pienka's superior, Isabel, encourages her, expressing confidence in her abilities. The next day, Pienka visits Allison. Allison had recently been released from prison. Pienka questions her about the last time Larry, her husband, contacted his brother Stock. Allison claims she has no information and hasn't heard from Stock since he disappeared. Although Allison refuses to cooperate, Pienka cleverly uses a different tactic by threatening to send her back to prison if she doesn't help. The following day, Jackal receives a message from an anonymous source in Sweden, saying that their organization wants to collaborate with him on a particular target. They also send him an advance payment. Jackal travels to Sweden and meets a representative of the organization named Zena. Jackal asks about the target, and Zena explains that he is a politician named Ole Charles. She offers him $10 million for the mission, but Jackal demands a significantly higher amount. Zena promises to negotiate with the organization and get back to him. Time passes, and Allison ignores all of Pienka's messages, refusing to cooperate. Pienka, running out of options, decides to pressure Allison through her daughter, Emma. Pienka and her team arrest Emma, framing her with charges of assaulting a police officer. They deny her access to a lawyer, aiming to lure Allison to the station. However, things take an unexpected turn when Emma suffers a breakdown in jail, leading to a heart attack. She is rushed to the hospital, but unfortunately, she doesn't survive despite doctors' efforts. The next day, Allison contacts Pienka and learns that the officers refuse to let her see her daughter and that she has no information about her death. Pienka demands that Allison provide her with Stock's number in exchange for getting her daughter out of prison. On the same day, the forensic report reveals that Emma already had underlying heart problem, which triggered the crisis that led to her death. Unfortunately, this doesn't absolve Pienka from legal accountability, especially since she invented the charges against Emma to lure her mother in. Pienka's colleagues bring in a lawyer named Carver to help her avoid legal trouble. They suggest dropping the case to avoid further complications, but Isabel refuses, reminding them of their promise to the Germans to help capture the sniper. Isabel gives Pienka one day to have Stock's number before news of Emma's death reaches her mother. Pienka contacts Allison again and tells her she must provide the number that day if she wants her daughter released. Meanwhile, Jackal travels to his home in Spain. While he is in his office, his wife, Nuria, walks in and asks what he's working on. Jackal replies that he's dealing with problems at work. Nuria reassures him that she will always be by his side and that everything will be fine. Nuria is unaware of Jackal's true criminal activities. The next day, members of the organization that wants Jackal to assassinate Oli meet to discuss their plans. They watch an interview with Oli on television, where he announces that he is about to launch a revolutionary product capable of achieving global economic justice. The members agree that he must be eliminated before he announces the product, as it poses a significant threat to their interests. In Spain, Jackal celebrates his son Carlito's birthday with Nuria and their friends. Everyone loves Jackal but is unaware of his true identity. Meanwhile, Allison meets with Larry and asks him to contact Stock for help regarding Emma's situation. Larry is hesitant, saying he doesn't want to rely on his younger brother every time there's a problem. However, Allison convinces him that this situation is urgent, and he agrees to call Stock. Back in Spain, Jackal receives a message from the organization. They request an urgent meeting, so Jackal excuses himself from Nuria and their friends, explaining that he has to travel for work. Nuria insists on driving him to the airport. After she leaves, Jackal changes his direction to meet Zaina, the organization's representative. However, Nuria accidentally spots him getting into a taxi and immediately calls him, only to find his phone turned off. This raises her suspicions, and she confides in her mother, upset. Her mother reassures her, saying she's overthinking because she trusts Jackal too much. During this time, Nuria's brother, Alvaro, enters the room. When their mother explains the situation, Alvaro becomes furious and threatens to deal with Jackal if it turns out he's cheating on Nuria. That night, Allison learns that her husband, Larry, has contacted Stock. She quickly checks his phone while he's distracted and took a picture of the last numbers he called, including Stock's number, and sends it to Pienka. Meanwhile, Jackal meets Zina, who informs him that the organization cannot pay the amount he requested as it exceeds their budget. She asks him to lower his fee, and Jackal agrees, settling on a revised amount and a deadline to complete the mission before Oli announces his new product. Pienka tracks Stock's location through the phone number and discovers he is in Belarus. She immediately assembles a police team and heads there. However, during the raid, they find that Stock has anticipated their arrival. He fires randomly at them, killing 2 officers, and escapes in a car. Pienka attempts to shoot him and stop the vehicle, but none of her bullets hit him, and he successfully gets away. While searching the area around Stock's house, Pienka discovers a suspicious bag on the ground. She retrieves it and leaves the scene. The next day, Allison and Larry are devastated to learn that their daughter Emma has died as they head to collect her body. Meanwhile, Pienka's team decides to put her under an internal investigation, blaming her for causing significant problems due to her mistaken belief that Stock was the gunsmith who created the sniper rifle used to kill Manfred. The team decides to close the case and cease their collaboration with the Germans. However, Pienka has a shocking revelation for them. The bag she found near Stock's house contains a rifle matching the exact specifications of the sniper rifle used in Manfred's assassination. This discovery convinces Isabel of the case's complexity, prompting her to allow Pienka to continue the investigation. Later, Pienka sends Allison a voice message apologizing for everything that happened and asking for a chance to meet her face-to-face. After some time, Nuria sits with her mother and shares that she still hasn't been able to reach Jackal. Her mother tells her that this situation is no longer normal and that she needs to take a stand. While they are talking, Nuria is surprised by a call from Jackal. She quickly smiles and answers. Jackal apologizes for not calling her all this time, explaining that he's been very busy. Nuria takes the opportunity to confront him about seeing him in a taxi after she had dropped him off at the airport. She demands an explanation, but Jackal denies it outright, insisting she must have mistaken someone else for him. Nuria, convinced of what she saw, presses him further and asks where he is. Jackal tells her he's at a hotel in Amsterdam. She then asks him to turn on his camera and show her his surroundings. Jackal refuses, saying he doesn't like being on camera. Nuria suspects he's with another woman in the room and doesn't want her to see. She threatens to take the first flight to Amsterdam if he doesn't comply. Finally, Jackal turns on his camera and shows her everything around the suite to convince her not to come. Jackal then asks Nuria to show him their son, Carlito. She agrees, showing him the boy, and Jackal smiles warmly, saying he misses him. Afterward, Nuria asks when he plans to return to Spain, telling him that she and his son miss him. Jackal responds that he doesn't know yet and has no updates about his work. Nuria becomes visibly upset, pointing out that she still doesn't know anything about his job, colleagues, or the people he deals with. She adds that he's always away from them under the pretext of work. Feeling fed up, she ends the call abruptly without saying goodbye. Determined to uncover the truth, Nuria begins searching Jackal's office. She rummages through the drawers, but they are all empty, which deepens her suspicions. While searching, she notices a strange door behind his desk. She opens it to find a hidden room filled with his clothes. She continues searching but doesn't find anything until she suddenly notices a small trapdoor in the floor. She opens it quickly, discovering something shocking that he had been hiding from her all along. The next day, Allison meets with Pianka after listening to her message. Pianka apologizes for what happened to Allison's daughter and explains that the forensic report revealed Emma had pre-existing health issues that led to her death. Allison responds, saying she holds Pianka responsible anyway because her actions triggered Emma's condition. Pianka shifts the conversation to the reason for their meeting, finding Stock's location. Pianka informs Allison that Stock killed 2 British officers during their attempt to arrest him and stresses the urgency of finding him. However, Allison refuses to help again. Pianka explains that this time is different. Stock's connection to Allison's husband, Larry, has come to light. The police found Larry's number on Stock's call log. Allison admits that she and Larry had been in contact with Stock to arrange financial support for their plans to migrate to London. Pianka, uninterested in their reasons, warns Allison that if she wants to save her husband, she must find Stock's location as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Larry is at home alone when he receives a call from Stock, who shares his new hideout location and recounts everything that happened. When Allison returns home, she notices Larry looks upset and shocked. She begins to worry that he might have discovered what she did. Larry confronts her, asking why she insisted he contact Stock, revealing that as soon as he did, British police located and raided Stock's hideout. Larry grabs Allison's phone and starts going through it. When he discovers what she's been hiding, he becomes enraged and smashes her phone against the wall. Terrified, Allison tries to run away, but Larry catches her, drags her back into the room, and lashes out at her aggressively. The next day, Nuria shares with Alvaro and her mother about the secret safe she found in Jackal's office. They attempt several combinations, including their birth dates, hoping to open it, but all their efforts fail. Alvaro suggests they might need the receipt or invoice for the safe to take it to the manufacturer and have them reset the code. Nuria searches through all their paperwork but finds nothing. Meanwhile, Pianka arrives at the police station after over a week of non-stop work. She asks Isabel if there's been any progress with Allison. Isabel explains that Allison is still grieving her daughter and unable to cooperate. Noticing the exhaustion on Pianka's face, Isabel advises her to take some rest. Shortly after Isabel leaves, Pianka receives a private call from Kevin, a colleague, asking to meet her secretly outside the station. During their meeting, Kevin shares that an American officer tipped him off, warning that the killer might be planning a series of political crimes. Kevin is certain that Stock knew about the police's planned raid in advance, evidenced by his preparation of weapons and escape tools. What puzzles him more is that the raid plan was only known to a few people: himself, Damien, Isabel, and Pianka. Kevin suggests there might be a mole among them. Pianka expresses concern, knowing the implications, but Kevin advises her to keep her information private from now on. Back at home, Alvaro discovers that the mirror on Jackal's wardrobe conceals another hidden, encrypted door. This revelation shocks Nuria, confirming that her husband has been hiding a big secret. At the police station, one of Pianka's colleagues informs her they found something useful on Stock's phone. Damien is present, but Pianka, suspicious of him, sends him away to fetch coffee so he won't hear the updates. Her colleague reveals that 3 weeks before Manfred's murder, Stock was in constant communication with a specific number. Communication stopped on the day Manfred was killed. Pianka asks if they've identified the owner of the number. The colleague confirms that it's registered to someone named Jackal. Elsewhere, Elias is returning from his father's funeral when Jackal ambushes him in his car. Jackal shoots Elias's assistant, who was accompanying him, and confronts Elias. Jackal accuses him of hiring him to kill his father, but failing to pay the agreed amount. To cover his tracks, Jackal shoots Elias as well and plants a bomb in the car. Walking away, Jackal detonates the bomb, destroying the vehicle and its occupants. Back at Jackal's house, Alvaro and Nuria's brother bring tools to break the hidden door behind the wardrobe. Using a drill, they manage to enter the secret room. Inside, they are shocked to find an arsenal of weapons, cashed in various currencies, and multiple fake passports with different aliases Jackal uses. As they stand in disbelief, the real shock comes when Jackal, watching them through a surveillance camera linked to his phone, realizes they have uncovered his secret. The following day, Jackal is driving, lost in thought while watching a bird in the sky. He accidentally hits another car. The driver angrily confronts him, saying his manager will deduct an entire month's salary for the damage. Jackal sarcastically asks how much he earns to compensate him, but the driver refuses and insists on calling the police. A police officer arrives at the scene and inspects Jackal's car trunk, finding a weapon inside. Before the officer can take any action, Jackal shoots him and finishes him off. He then kills the driver who reported him, wipes his fingerprints from the area, and escapes. Later, Jackal calls Nuria, inviting her to Paris to spend some time together and apologize for his long absence. After much insistence, Nuria agrees and travels to Paris the next day. The moment she sees him, she slaps him without warning, demanding to know the truth he's been hiding. Jackal admits he's been concealing something but avoids full disclosure. He explains that his operations are related to international conflicts and that governments often resort to him to resolve their disputes. When Nuria asks if he resorts to killing, Jackal says that he never do that, explaining that these operations are illegal, which is why he kept her away. Nuria accuses him of endangering her and their son's lives, but Jackal reassures her that no one from his work knows anything about his personal life. He promises to wrap up all his operations within 2 weeks and start a peaceful life with her and her son. Meanwhile, Pianka receives a text from Allison's phone asking to meet by the river. When Pianka arrives at the location late at night, she waits for hours, only to be shocked when Larry shows up instead. He attacks her, injuring her arm, but Pianka manages to escape and calls her colleagues for help. Seconds later, Larry catches up to her again, but she cleverly distracts him until the police arrive. As the police approach, Larry jumps onto a boat in the river and escapes. The police raid Larry's house later, only to find Allison's body after being killed. At the police station, Isabel asks Pianka if she has new information, but Pianka denies it, revealing only that they traced a lead to someone named Jackal. That night, Larry contacts his brother Stock, asking for a safe house. Stock promises to find him a location and call back. Pianka, exhausted after a long day, returns home, only to find Larry holding a knife to the neck of her daughter named Jasmine. He threatens to kill her, blaming Pianka for his daughter's death. Pianka shoots Larry in the leg, injuring him. Jasmine, despite her fear, stops Pianka from shooting Larry again. Pianka reluctantly calls the police to take Larry. At the hospital, Pianka pressures Larry to reveal Stock's location by suffocating him briefly with a pillow. Larry eventually breaks and provides details about Stock's house in Budapest, though he doesn't know the exact address. Jackal later contacts Stock, requesting a custom sniper rifle for a critical operation. Stock, injured, explains he cannot build it alone or trust anyone else for the task. Jackal decides to travel to Budapest to assist him personally. Pianka's secret sources inform her that Jackal's next target is someone named Ollie, but she still doesn't know who Jackal is or how to locate him. Determined, she heads to Budapest based on Larry's description. Jackal arrives at Stock's house and helps him complete the sniper rifle. Jackal practices with it, demonstrating his extraordinary skills. The next morning, Pianka and her team locate Stock's house. Jackal tries to warn Stock by repeatedly calling him, but Stock, still asleep, doesn't hear his phone until it's too late. As the police storm the house, Stock grabs a weak weapon due to limited time and exchanges fire with them. Despite his resistance, the police successfully apprehend him. Finally, Pianka interrogates Stock about Jackal. Stock denies knowing anything, claiming ignorance about the person Pianka is referring to. During the interrogation, Stock is suddenly shot in the head, killing him instantly. The shot came from a distance, fired by Jackal, who feared Stock might reveal his identity. Pianka leaves the house frustrated and begins searching for Jackal in every direction. Jackal, in the meantime, steals a farmer's horse and escapes into the nearby forest. Pianka chases him, shooting at him without managing to injure him. As night falls, the dark forest causes Jackal to crash into a tree, throwing him off the horse. Injured, he continues running on foot until he reaches a river and jumps in. Pianka arrives moments later and fires at the water, hoping to hit him, but Jackal disappears without a trace. Exhausted, she gives up the chase. Emerging from the river, Jackal sneaks into the farmer's stable. The farmer, Attila, discovers him and, before Jackal can react, knocks him unconscious. When Jackal wakes up, he finds himself tied up. Attila questions him, but Jackal doesn't speak Hungarian. Frustrated, Attila calls his friend Gebor, who speaks some English, and explains the situation. Gebor and his assistant, Leslo, head to Attila's house to confront Jackal. Meanwhile, Attila approaches Jackal with food. Seizing the opportunity, Jackal hits him, cuts his bonds with a hidden blade, and kills Attila. He attempts to escape in a car parked nearby, but it won't start. Before Jackal can escape on foot, Gebor and Leslo arrive and find Attila's body. Enraged, Gebor fires at the car, shattering its windows. Jackal shoots Gebor in the leg and finishes him off, leaving Leslo terrified. Jackal demands to know if Leslo has a working vehicle. Trembling, Leslo admits he does and agrees to drive Jackal to his destination. On the way, Jackal calls Nuria and instructs her to bring his disguise kit from the hidden room she discovered. He explains that too many people have seen his real face. After reaching his destination, Jackal spares Leslo's life, but warns him not to inform the police. If he does, Jackal threatens to send people to kill his wife and son. Terrified, he promises to stay silent. Nuria meets Jackal hours later, delivering his disguise kit. Jackal transforms himself into an old man and instructs Nuria to leave. He then boards a flight to Estonia, where he plans to complete his mission. Coincidentally, Pienka and her team are on the same flight, heading to Estonia to protect Ollie, a high-profile individual expected to announce a new product. In Estonia, Jackal sets up his plan to assassinate Ollie during the announcement. Using his skills, Jackal infiltrates the venue unnoticed, hiding in an air vent above the stage. He knows that once Ollie arrives, all doors will be sealed, and only invited guests with personal access cards will be allowed in. As Ollie begins his presentation, Jackal silently assembles his sniper rifle and takes aim. However, another assassin is also present, targeting Ollie from a different vantage point. Both assassins fire simultaneously, causing chaos in the venue. Pienka realizes there are two shooters involved. As the crowd panics and exits the venue, Jackal blends in with them, escaping unnoticed. The organization that hired Jackal to kill Ollie is furious about the failed operation, especially since the product launch is reported by a week due to the attack. Despite their disappointment, they decide to regroup and try again. The story shifts to Jackal's past, revealing shocking secrets. Jackal, whose real name is Doug, was once a British Army soldier. He was assigned to a covert mission in Afghanistan, where they were ordered to eliminate key leaders of insurgent groups. His code name, Jackal, was created to protect his true identity. In the present, Pienka discovers in the British Army records that there was a soldier named Doug who was the only one capable of making the precise long-range shots mentioned in connection with Jackal's crimes. She also knows that Doug disappeared after a mission in Afghanistan, where his convoy was blown up and his body was never found. She decides to investigate further. Meanwhile, a flashback shows Jackal and his partner, Jerry, both elite members of their military unit. Jerry proposes a mission to assassinate a high-profile individual for a large sum of money, knowing they are the best in the unit. They successfully complete the mission, collect their payment, and agree to take on more contracts of the same type. In the present day, Jackal's photo is broadcast on television after a public announcement. Alvaro, seeing it, realizes the resemblance to Jackal and contacts Nuria. She confirms his identity and begins to worry. Jackal becomes nervous and urges her not to tell anyone. The next day, Pienka visits Larry in prison. She's shocked when he killed himself in front of her. Flashbacks reveal Jackal's involvement in an incident where his partner, Jerry, was in a vehicle that was blown up by Jackal from a distance. Jackal insists they must never be recognized again, leading to their disappearance. Back in the present, Isabel informs Pienka that due to the public's concern, the case must be closed for the greater good, as she cannot afford to lose more top agents. She warns Pienka not to proceed any further, threatening her with dismissal if she does. Meanwhile, Jackal arrives in Spain and confronts Nuria. After much persuasion, he admits to being a professional assassin, killing people for large amounts of money. Shocked, Nuria expresses concern for her brother, who has a conflict with a dangerous gang member named Jimmy. Jackal reassures her that he will handle the situation. The next day, Jackal carries out a precise sniper shot, eliminating Jimmy while sitting with Alvaro is in a public place. At the day Ollie plans to announce his product, Jackal goes early in the morning. He takes a boat close to the area, and as soon as he reaches the desired spot, he killed the boat's captain. Jackal then waits alone on the boat for hours until Ollie appears in his diving suit and dives into the water in front of him. At this moment, Jackal prepares his sniper rifle to take him out, but Ollie's guards notice him and intervene. He dives deep to shield him from the gunfire, but he can't hold his breath for long. Eventually, both Ollie and his assistant surface, and the assistant gets shot by Jackal's sniper, losing his life. Terrified, Ollie chooses to surface briefly, but as soon as his head emerges, Jackal shoots him, killing him instantly. The next day, Jackal is driving his car when a traffic officer stops him for inspection. Jackal hits the officer with his car and escape. Police cars pursue him in all directions, but he manages to outsmart them and escape. At the same time, Pienka decides to resign from her position after Isabel prevents her from continuing the case. When the minister learns about her resignation, he instructs Isabel to let her handle things her way. Isabel visits Pienka's house, telling her she has changed her mind and allows her to continue working on the case. However, Pienka declines and says she cannot return. After leaving, she reconsiders and decides to finish the case before resigning again. When Pienka returns to the station, she finds out that Alvaro was arrested for Jimmy's murder but released after proving he wasn't involved in the crime. She knew that Jimmy was killed in the same way as the criminal they were after. She begins questioning her colleagues about Alvaro's life, hoping to trace the assassin through him. She learns that Alvaro is Spanish and lived with his sister and her English husband. Pienka becomes almost certain that the sister's husband is Jackal. She obtains Alvaro's address and travels there with her colleague, Vince, on the same day. They surveil a house from outside, and as soon as Jackal arrives and enters, they break in to arrest him. At that moment, Jackal is in his secret room when he receives a call from Zainab, warning him that the police have found his location and advising him to take precautions. Jackal begins preparing for any confrontation. Just then, Alvaro enters the house and makes noise, causing Vince to accidentally shoot him. Jackal starts firing at them from above. Vince is shooted and dies instantly. During this, Bianca tries to deal with Jackal, claiming she can help him if he cooperates and gives up the names of those he works with. Unfortunately, she doesn't realize she's now facing him alone, making her an easy target. Suddenly, Jackal emerges from his hiding spot and fires the final bullet, ending her life forever. While escaping, Jackal caused a major accident. However, he survives, escapes, and eventually travels to meet Zainab. They discuss their next target as if nothing had happened.